Now let's take a look at some sample calculations to understand how you're going to calculate everything from our dehydration of an inorganic salt lab. Now we're going to be using the copper 1 sulfate sample like your lab manual shows. Remember your sample, okay, this is really, really important. Remember your sample is going to be that magnesium compound, not the copper 1 sulfate compound. You can calculate the molar mass of the dehydrated magnesium sulfate yourself, or it is given in your lab manual. All right, so let's take a look. So you finished your experiment. Okay, you have some masses. You massed out your aluminum dish. You have your mass of your dish and your compound together before heating, so that is your hydrated compound. And then you have your dish and your compound after you were done heating, so that's your dehydrated compound. So let's figure out the mass of our original hydrated compound. So remember, your dish plus compound, so this one right here, and your dish by itself, a subtraction there will give you the mass of your original hydrated compound. So I'm going to take my 6.30 grams minus my 1.32 grams, and I am going to get 4.98 grams. All right, and this is going to be the mass of my original hydrated compound. Okay? All right, now the mass of my dehydrated compound. So that's where I'm going to take what I did after heating, because after heating is where we got rid of all of the water. All right, and we're still in that aluminum dish. So we'll take our mass of our dish after heating, so 4.50 grams, minus the mass of our dish by itself. And we are going to get 3.18 grams. Okay? All right. So we've got the original hydrated compound, and now we have our dehydrated compound. So the next thing we need to know is the mass of our water. So the mass of our water is going to be our hydrated compound minus our dehydrated compound. Okay, because the difference between that, all we did was drive off water. So the difference in mass between those two is the mass of our water. All right, and so we are going to get 1.80 grams. Okay, oh, let's write down the calculation. So we'll take our 4.98 grams minus our 3.18 grams, and we're going to get 1.80 grams. Okay? All right, let's switch over to another slide so I have more room to write. All right, so we have filled in our 4.98 grams here, our 3.18 grams here, and we filled in our 1.80 grams there. Okay, so now I need to know my moles of copper 1 sulfate. All right, so we have our grams, right? Now we need to know moles, okay? And what we're looking at is the moles of the dehydrated compound. All right, and so we're going to take this one right here, the moles of our dehydrated compound. So I have 3.18 grams of that dehydrated copper 1 sulfate, 1 mole of copper 1 sulfate in every 159.61 grams. Okay, so this is your molar mass, and this is your all right, and so dimensional analysis, the grams and the grams are going to cancel. We'll be left with moles. And we're going to get 0.0199 moles of our copper 1 sulfate. Okay. All right, moles of water, we'll do the same thing. We're going to take our mass of water, so that's our 1.80 grams. We've got 1 mole of water for every 18.016 grams of water. So my grams and my grams cancel, and I'm going to get 0.0999 moles. Okay? All right. Okay. So we're almost done here. All right, so let's fill back in what we already had. So we had our 4.98 grams here. We had our 3.18 grams there, 1.80, and then we just calculated our 0.199 moles and our 0.0999 moles. Now I need the ratio of my moles of water to moles of copper 1 sulfate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 0.0999 moles of water over my 0.0199 moles of my copper 1 sulfate, and I'm going to get 5.02, which will round to 5 because you can only have a round number there. And that's normal for data to give you something that's ever so slightly not a perfectly straight integer there. So that would mean that the final formula would be copper 1 sulfate, and then that dot, and the 5H2O, so copper 1 sulfate pentahydrate. So again, your calculations will be basically the same, but don't forget, you're using magnesium sulfate. So where I use the molar mass of copper 1 sulfate, you need to use the molar mass of magnesium sulfate. And obviously you'll have different grams than I do because you'll be doing your own experiment. All right, so hopefully this helps you understand the calculations that you need to do for this particular experiment.